everyone. Let's discuss the idea of working with Volkswagen Group. The idea is really important due to the fact that this is one of the 11 OEMs gathered in ITF organization, and those of the organizations in the supply chain who work with Volkswagen needs to follow the requirements, yes, and comply with this what is requested from them. At the starting point, we have, of course, the quality management system requirements like ISO 9001 and IATF 16949. So, in fact, from that perspective, we have customer-specific requirements. And today, I will start the discussion about Volkswagen with my guests. This will be Vanya and Pedro from OPCO from Portugal to deep dive into this topic. Hello, Vanya. Hello,
Hello,
Pedro.
how are you?
What would
Hello,
you add about this topic? Interesting topic.
Well, I will not be a gentleman and I will start before Vanya. So nice to be with you, Agatha, again for this series of videos. Thank you very much for the invitation.
The
And
same.
hello to Vanya, our colleague, and at this moment, our specialist in Formel Q in OPCO. Well, in fact, customer specific requirements is an interesting topic. And as you and our attendees know, any IATF certification is valid only with the applicable customer specific requirements. And when you talk about the 11 OEMs on IATF, if I may say so, maybe Volkswagen is one of the, let me say, most tricky ones. And why tricky? It's not on the bad sense, but companies can get surprised later on. And why? Because if we go for the IETF website, we have the CSRs, but you can see some of them are more detailed than the others. And VW is one of those that is not very much detailed. And in almost every comment, they redirection us to Formel Q. When I was saying tricky is because normally we say, okay, OEM CSRs are applicable to the tier one. But in the case of Volkswagen, in a couple of situations, for the tier one to be compliant, they need also to cascade it down to the tier two, and so on. And so on. So it's like a domino effect that one of the pieces start following, all the others will have to fall after that. So there are a few situations for Volkswagen, like the DTLD characteristics and the self-assessment on that, like the product safety and conformity responsible, like the VDA standards, VDA 6.3, that will tell us also as a customer to cascade customer requirements down the supply chain. So that's why I was saying tricky, because it's necessary that the tier one also cascade all of that and make aware of the tier two, and so on and so on. Once I was talking with a former VW colleague, and I was a little bit joking, asking him, okay, so the tier two passed to the tier three, to the tier four, to the tier five. Do we need to go to the oil wealth or to the mine of the iron or something like that? And he starts laughing, and he answered in the right way. Well, we need to go down until where it is reasonable to go. And in fact,
At the point of
yeah,
manufacture, yes.
and down as it gets. And Vanya, I think Vanya was also with the company. They are extracting the oil and making the lubricants. So there is not much more below that. So we really need to go there to the point of manufacturing, to the point of production, and not forgetting that we are talking about a car. A car, as any other good that we have, needs to be homologated. So it needs to comply with local requirements here in Europe or in the US or Asia, wherever. So coming back to the CSRs and making also here one topic, many companies see that as almost as a punishment, almost as, oh, we have to bear with this. But if we know to read in between the lines, we can see that that is always based on requirements, on prevention, on safety, on legal requirements. So if we are talking about the DTLD, for instance, it's not just because we need to fill in a report or whatever, but it's because that those characteristics can kill someone or can contribute to be conforming or not to legal requirements. So no one of us, drivers or professionals from the industry, want to have anything to do with that. So we need to see that, to understand it, to know what is behind that, and then we will see that maybe that's not such as a bad punishment, but maybe as a preventive action that we have to work with.
Let's jump maybe more specific to the Volkswagen requirements, because we started from the IATF perspective and customer specific requirements. Vanya, maybe you'll add here for the discussion something. What is the foundation? We mentioned about the Formel Q. Can you say something more about this?
Okay, about the foundation, about the IATF requirements, the customer specific requirements. The reality that we have, like Pedro mentioned, the requirements passed down the Formula Q contract or Formula Q capability. And when you're looking for these manuals, and then we need to go more in detail. Um, and sometimes it's not easy because we are looking for concrete, and then the same topic appear more detail in new parts integral or more detail in the capability. And then many times the supplier needs to go to the specific engineering standards, for example, to understand how he can fulfill the specific requirement that is written in concrete. So how I was explained, a supplier that identify requirements to fulfill, to implement in their own quality management system, needs to go more in detail in specific engineering standards or brand standard to understand the scope of those activities. For example, those requirements according the product or the process. I can give an example about DTLD. The way that is written, it's very generic, and many times the supplier needs the contact, for instance, by parts of VW, for example, or to clarify the scope of DTLD in their own product, because in reality it's not written here which will be the characteristics specific for that metal part or plastic part and so on. So it's about very tricky. It's not only about read the manuals and understand, but to go more in details, investigate, clarify with the customer to know very well what are the internal scope of those requirements and how they need to be passed down to the supply chain.
Mm-hmm. And here you presented for us the kind of the house of the quality based on the formal Q. Can you explain a little bit how these documents cooperate between each other?
Okay. About these formal Q manuals and the way they are related between them and how they are this scheme, this image of these manuals. We have in the top of this, I would say, this house, the Formel Q concrete. This will be the quality requirements for the supply chain that normally appear during the quotation phase for the supplier, so the supplier can consult and understand, but to be prepared, which can be after the nomination, which will be the requirements that he needs to fulfill in their own quality management system. But in reality, what is appearing in Formula Q concrete appears again written in more details. For example, in Formula Q new parts integral, that we have the requirements for the project phase until SOP, and then we have also in Formula Q concrete other requirements that will appear more in detail related with Formula Q capability and also capability for software and other requirements that will be more detailed in the appendix of capability. But at the end, I would say the target of all of these requirements is the supply evaluation. Some of those cases will see tools to assess product and process from that suppliers produce and control to VW, but it's about how also Volkswagen can assess and evaluate the tier one, mainly the tier one.
So, to summarize, everyone who would like to start cooperation with the Volkswagen has no other choice than just follow the customer specific requirements and EATF, of course, and also this what are in these manuals, yes, because he needs to just agree with the contract. Another point is that we need to also follow additional VDA manuals, yes, and always the case is that we have to follow them in the latest revision. This is also important to emphasize, yes. So as everyone can see, it's a lot of requirements. So exactly this what Pedro you've said, this is tricky cooperation, and also you need to cascade this.
That's true.
Yes.
And just to emphasize, this is
Yeah.
applicable to Volkswagen as it is to all other OEMs, IATF or non-IATF, tier ones. So it's hard. It's not easy to follow, to understand, to know these customer-specific requirements, but that is vital in the early stage of a supplier relation to a customer to understand it, to avoid later surprises, normally bad surprises.
Yes, thank you for this comment. Okay, guys, thank you very much for the discussion about this basic requirements when we cooperate with Volkswagen Group. I would like to invite you for another topic which I prepared for you. So, thank you very much for
You,
today.
Agatha.
Bye.
Bye bye.